Tonight, a temporary break for Canadians at the pumps.
That's great. That's great.
It helps, I guess.
Ottawa announces a gas tax holiday. How much it could save you, and is it enough? Mark Carney enters his majority era.
Showboating. We're going to have less of that. We're going to have more substance.
How it changes the government's plans and the pressure on Pierre Poilievre. And Canadians are still being overcharged for underweight meat, despite big grocers promising to change.
I would have to say I was pissed. They didn't change anything.
What our hidden cameras found 1 year after a CBC News investigation.
From CBC News, this is The National with Chief Correspondent Adrian Arsenault.
Thanks for joining us. Some relief could be on the way for Canadians who've been watching the price of gas spike since the start of the war in the Middle East. In his first move since securing a majority government, Mark Carney says he is pausing the federal fuel excise tax. That temporary suspension will apply to gasoline, diesel, and aviation fuel and will last through the summer. It should shave up to 10 cents off the price at the pumps. But some argue the government needs to be doing much more. Caroline Bargout with why critics say this cut won't relieve enough of the pressure on Canadians.
Canadians could soon see the price at the pumps go down. The first move of Mark Carney's majority to announce a pause on one of its taxes on gas.
To be clear, today's cut to the fuel excise tax is a responsible, temporary measure consistent with what it takes to build a stronger economy.
The fuel tax holiday will begin on Monday and end on Labor Day. It will amount to a 10-cent reduction on a litre of gas, a 4-cent drop on a litre of diesel, and 4 cents off a litre of aviation fuel. Experts say that works out to an average of $8 off a tank of gas and $4 off diesel.
That's great. Price has been going up so much. It's good to have some relief.
It helps, I guess, like 10 cents a liter, but overall, like it's still a little too pricey.
Not enough. Not enough.
The Conservatives agree the cuts don't go far enough and are calling on the government to also remove GST from fuel.
Canadians cannot afford to gas their tanks. We want all gas taxes eliminated for the rest of the year.
The war in Iran effectively shutting down the Strait of Hormuz has caused prices to spike. On average, Canadians are paying about 39 cents more for a litre of gas since the start of the war.
Ultimately, the fuel disruption is still going to be felt likely throughout the summer because we're at that stage where this disruption has gone on long enough that it's going to take a long time to resolve.
And they warn prices could keep climbing.
If oil prices surge late this week, that may again eat into the potential relief that we could see early next week.
And it's not just at the pumps. Many of the major airlines have added a fuel surcharge fee to offset their rising costs.
WestJet says it has no plans to change that, and this temporary tax relief is not nearly enough to offset the increase in the cost of jet fuel since the start of this war. Now, Porter Airlines also has a fuel surcharge, and it will stay, but it only applies on flights booked through points and not on purchases.
And Caroline, this tax pause comes just in time for summer road trips, but also in time for the usual summer gas price hike.
That's right, Adrian. As you may have noticed, every summer the price at the pumps goes up. And that is in part because the formula for fuel changes. But then also every long weekend, it seems that prices also continue to go up. So you add all of that, plus the war in the Middle East, and that is likely to offset any breaks that we get from this tax relief.
All right, thank you. That is Caroline Bargout in Vancouver. This big announcement comes on the heels of a very big night for the Liberal Party. They swept Monday's by-elections and landed a majority government. Ashley Burke with how that changes things on Parliament Hill.
The Prime Minister taking a victory lap. Mark Carney hit the ice with Finland's president the day after he scored his majority. Monday night, Canadians elected 3 Liberal MPs, 2 in Toronto and another in a tight race in Terrebonne, Quebec. The by-elections combined with 5 floor crossers making Carney's government the first in Canadian history to switch from a minority to a majority in between elections.
Voters place their trust in Canada's new government's plan. We accept their support with humility, determination, and a clear understanding of what this moment demands for our country.
Carney launching his new era with a temporary tax break at the pumps.
Because of the war with Iran, fuel prices have increased sharply around the world, including right here in Canada. So we're taking more action.
A move to address Canadians' concerns about affordability.
The pressing issue right now is perhaps lowering the gas taxes to help. I mean, everybody feels that.
I want to see, a better housing market.
I think food costs.
Carney says a majority means he can pass legislation faster and change how parliamentary committees run.
There is a difference between real testimony, real substance, getting to issues, debating aspects of law, advancing. That's the job of parliamentarians, and showboating. We're going to have less of that. We're going to have more substance.
The Conservatives say Carney will now be out of excuses if he doesn't deliver for Canadians.
Absolute power comes with absolute responsibility. They will actually have to get things done. They will have to do so without blaming others, and they will have to start now.
Poilievre pointed out the government still hasn't approved a new oil pipeline and said housing costs are still way too high.
And Ashley, what do we know about Carney's priorities right now?
Well, Adrian, he said that the first thing that he's going to focus on is passing affordability measures and a bill designed to speed up building homes. The Prime Minister also shut down any speculation that he may still call an election or shuffle his cabinet. Instead, he says that his government is focused on laying out its next steps in a spring economic statement on April 28th.
All right, we'll be watching that. Ashley Burke in Ottawa, thank you. Pierre Poilievre is vowing to stay on as leader in the wake of the new Liberal majority. The federal Conservatives now have less power, but they also don't have to worry about a snap election. Kate McKenna shows us how that is landing inside Conservative ranks.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
The Conservative leader says he's not going anywhere.
Canadians might be discouraged right now because of the current political situation, but let us say this. Canadians should not give up. And I will continue to lead that fight in this House, across this country, and in the next election.
Publicly, Conservatives rallied behind Pierre Poilievre one day after the Liberals formed a majority government, in part due to Conservative floor crossers.
He's fantastic. He's well informed. He has the experience. He's on top of the issues.
I 100% support Pierre, and he's trying to do the right things, and he's thinking about people at home.
I'm looking forward to continuing to work with Pierre Poilievre and with our hardworking Conservative caucus.
But questions continued to dog Poilievre, even after sailing through a leadership review.
Glad we finally did this.
And appearances on high-profile podcasts.
His hold on the leadership remains fragile and tenuous, and the next few days and weeks are going to be critical to deciding whether or not he can maintain his leadership of the party.
Last week, a fourth Conservative MP crossed the floor, and Liberal sources say more could be coming.
In my judgment, and you're hearing this from them, when a Conservative member crosses the floor and decides to serve as a Liberal, they're rendering their judgment on whether they believe Mr. Poilievre is sufficiently capable of governing.
Behind the scenes, Conservative sources say caucus morale is low. And while some MPs are relieved there's no looming election, others are frustrated, trapped in opposition. The Prime Minister was asked whether Poilievre should stay on.
I don't. That's an unfair question. I can't look into the heart of Mr. Poilievre. I respect him as a parliamentarian.
The Conservative caucus could vote to oust Poilievre as leader, and sources say that avenue has been discussed, but they're not aware of any active push to collect the 28 signatures needed to start that process. Kate McKenna, CBC News, Ottawa.
Richmond RCMP say they have arrested 10 people after an incident on board a WestJet plane at Vancouver's airport this weekend. They say they were called at about 7:30 a.m. Saturday for unruly passengers on a flight headed to Mexico. The group was allegedly not complying with flight crew instructions and creating safety concerns, delaying the departure. Police removed the group, arrested them, and are recommending charges. No one was injured. And there's just 1 week left in the ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran, and there is mounting pressure for a deal. And as Katie Nicholson tells us, it appears there's some progress on another front in this war as Israeli and Lebanese officials begin their first direct talks in decades.
For the first time since 1993, direct talks between Israel and Lebanon.
All of the complexities of this matter are not going to be resolved in the next 6 hours, but we can begin to move forward to create the framework where something can happen.
Even as strikes continue to reduce towns to rubble in southern Lebanon, they've agreed just to keep talking and perhaps one day hammer out a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah, the Iranian-backed militia organization embedded inside Lebanon, though Hezbollah was not at the table and says it won't abide by any agreements. There are other peace talks on the horizon, the U.S. and Iran nudging back toward the negotiating table.
It is highly probable that these talks will restart.
The vice president eager to strike a deal.
We're going to keep on negotiating and try to make it happen because it would be great for the world, it'd be great for our country, it'd be great for everybody.
The last round didn't go so well and ended with the U.S. blockade on ships going to and from Iran. Panned by China as a dangerous and irresponsible move. And then there's the International Chamber of Shipping.
The whole of world trade is based on freedom of navigation. We don't want tolls, we don't want embargoes, we don't want blockades.
This energy security expert argued in favor of a U.S. blockade last month.
And my proposal for the blockade was really to send a message and to send the signal that Washington can also apply leverage on Tehran.
And he said it's a less bloody option than seizing Kharg Island, where Iran exports most of its oil.
Iranian cargoes are going to be stymied, and then the negotiators in Tehran will really have an incentive to negotiate in good faith with the negotiators from Washington and maybe third parties to reach a settlement.
There are conflicting reports that despite the U.S.'s best efforts, some ships have slipped by the blockade. But the U.S. military says that's not so, and that 6 ships turned back when they told them to. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Washington.
Italy's prime minister says her country will not renew a defense deal with Israel. Giorgia Meloni says the move takes into account what she called the current situation, but didn't elaborate. Relations between the two countries have recently soured. Italy, once seen as a strong supporter of Israel, has been critical of its attacks in Lebanon. Those attacks, Israel says, target Hezbollah, but as Chris Brown shows us from Lebanon, they can often result in devastating civilian casualties.
In Washington, Israel and Lebanon may be talking peace, but in Beirut, they're still digging for the dead as the war between Israel and Hezbollah rages.
Israel make a fire on this building.
An Israeli rocket hit right next to Ahmed Zanedin's store and his apartment across the street.
I have a son 2 years old. When he hear a small voice or anything, he put his hand on her ears, very scared.
Health authorities here say Israel's massive attack that lasted just 10 minutes killed more than 350 people. And Lebanon continues to reel in the aftermath.
Inshallah. Sabah al-Kurdi was among the more than 1,000 injured. Her legs were shredded by fragments from an Israeli missile. So as not to re-traumatize her, we agreed not to show her face. The shockwave hit me in a way I know I will never fully overcome, she said.
It is somehow depressive, devastating. We're drained.
Hezbollah invited the media to see a site where it says Israeli missiles killed innocent people, including 19-year-old student Abbas Khaireddin. His father, Mohammed, told us the teen had no weapons, nothing, and Israel never provides any evidence for their crimes. Israel says the attacks were directed at Hezbollah headquarters and infrastructure. I asked prominent Hezbollah politician Hussein al-Hajj Hassan what peace with Israel looks like to him. He said dignity and pride cannot discriminate, implying Lebanese people are being robbed of both. There was no time for a follow-up, though, because of a sound every Lebanese knows by heart. The high-pitched whine of an Israeli drone flying overhead. It quickly broke up the gathering. Chris Brown, CBC News, Beirut.
The International Monetary Fund is warning that the war in the Middle East is disrupting economic growth, and if it continues, it could raise the possibility of a global recession. Senior business reporter Peter Armstrong joins us now in studio. How real is this risk, do you think, of a global recession?
I mean, real enough, right? You don't need to be an economist to see how the disruption in energy markets can bleed into the broader economy. It's already happening. We're seeing it every day. The question that comes out of this report, I think, is the one you highlighted of what happens if this disruption continues. And the IMF lays out some scenarios here. Their worst case scenario, the IMF sees the price of oil at $110 a barrel this year, but as the conflict continues in that scenario, it would rise to like $125 a barrel next year.
So it's hovering now at around 100.
Yeah, about that. And those higher prices, you know, they would lower growth. From the forecast right now is at 3.4%, would go down to 2% if it continued all the way into next year, jack up inflation to like 6.1%, again, all in that worst case scenario.
Those are global averages?
Right, but I mean, think about 2% global growth. That's low. It's so low that the IMF said, and I'll quote here, this would mean a close call for a global recession. In that scenario, even the economic powerhouses of China and India, they'd be hit. But the poorer countries would be hit much harder and much faster. You know, the headline here is that this is weighing on growth already, and for every day that it drags on, the economic impact will only worsen.
And what about for a country like Canada?
Well, we're a little bit more insulated than a lot of countries, right? We're a net exporter of energy, of oil in particular. We make potash, so we're not as reliant on fertilizer out of the Persian Gulf. Under the baseline forecast, Canada's GDP growth is reduced a bit, but it comes down to 1.5% this year, 1.9% next year. Both of those, Adrian, worth noting, would make us second best in the G7.
All right, thank you. That is Peter Armstrong.
You bet.
A rare school shooting in southeastern Turkey has left at least 16 people injured. The 18-year-old attacker was a former student of the school. He had no prior criminal record, was not known to authorities. Witnesses say he appeared to fire randomly. 10 students were wounded, plus 4 teachers, a school employee, and a police officer. The shooter killed himself as police tried to apprehend him. Well, food suppliers have begun adding a fuel surcharge, citing the war in the Middle East.
Once there's some sort of a fee, it stays on.
How the price hike could hit you at the checkout. A secret shopping investigation reveals a costly pattern.
Every single package was off. Every single package.
Why you might be getting less than you pay for. And a holiday gone astray.
Instead of Bermuda, we'd be going to Canada, specifically St. John's, New Brunswick.
We are back in 2. That is a pretty great view of a pretty remarkable moment. This is the recovery crew opening up the Orion space capsule as it bobbed in the Pacific Ocean on Friday, welcoming home, of course, 4 astronauts, including Jeremy Hansen, who had just rocketed back to Earth. They spent 10 days in space as part of the Artemis II mission.
I am so excited to finally be able to play on home soil and play for Canada's first ever WNBA team.
There she is. Women's basketball star Kia Nurse is joining Canada's first WNBA franchise, the Toronto Tempo. The 30-year-old veteran is the first Canadian to sign for the team. The Tempo will tip off its inaugural season next month. And 7-Eleven is poised to close hundreds of North American stores this year. In an earnings filing, the convenience chain reported it plans to close 645 stores. It's unclear how many of those would be in Canada. The company didn't explain the closures, but it comes after recent plans to expand its in-store offerings, including fresh food and delivery. Well, tonight, there's even more pressure on grocery costs as suppliers warn retailers about a new surcharge. CBC News obtained letters from several food suppliers blaming the soaring cost of fuel. Anise Haydari shows us what is coming.
Grocery costs could be on the rise again because fuel to get food to the supermarket is way more expensive. This store owner is already seeing higher costs, with some suppliers adding a fuel surcharge.
So everybody is doing it somehow. It's coming. I mean, it's either a percentage of sales that they're charging or a flat fee.
Maple Leaf Foods now charging an extra 11 cents a kilogram for prepared meats and poultry. A letter from the company obtained by CBC News explicitly blames the closure of the Strait of Hormuz and higher fuel costs. They aren't alone. CBC News has seen similar requests from grocery suppliers Tree of Life, Atlas Foods, and Sunrise Farms. Sobeys has told CBC News it's declined to pay fuel surcharges. Metro wouldn't provide details, nor did Loblaw, though it said it pushes back on what it calls unjustified increases. But high fuel costs are likely to influence food costs, and smaller stores can't eat that.
On paper, prices are higher because freight is higher.
This Ontario grocer says they have to keep a close eye on prices.
We are very, very much a sense like a penny and a nickel business where we are always tracking where costs are relative to and where prices need to be to maintain a suitable profit margin to be able to run the business effectively.
And an upcoming temporary federal tax cut on fuel may not make a difference.
Depending upon where you're located in the country, the prices have gone up by 50%. Dropping the price of diesel by 4 or 5 cents a liter really isn't going to be impactful.
While many supermarkets have said price increases could be slow to see on the shelf, supply chain experts have said if fuel costs go down, price decreases may also be slow, if they come at all. Anis Haidari, CBC News, Calgary.
A CBC News investigation has found several major grocery chains overcharging for meat on numerous occasions.
Obviously, these retail stores are not to be trusted.
The push for stronger enforcement. And a new fee for healthcare hitting newcomers to Canada.
People will suffer physically, mentally, and these cuts may result in people dying.
A government failure or a necessary adjustment. And what history shows us about the consequences of escalation in Iran.
Sending troops ashore is usually the first step to a much larger conflict.
The National breaks down the story shaping our world. Next.
When you bet on this, you don't expect to win. It's a great news for me.
A Parisian engineer got a fantastic surprise call on Tuesday that he is the new owner of this Pablo Picasso painting worth around €1 million. He paid just €100 for a raffle ticket, which was drawn at Christie's auction house in Paris. The raffle's proceeds will go towards Alzheimer's research. Well, there are loud calls tonight protesting a shift in how asylum seekers will soon access some health care in Canada. Thomas Daig explains what is changing and the fierce blowback.
Across Canada, doctors and advocates warned government spending cuts are about to make 600,000 newcomers all the more vulnerable.
These are cruel cuts that are really punching down on the most vulnerable and marginalized segment of our society.
The Carney government will soon make asylum seekers cover 30% of the cost of some services like dental, vision, and mental health, and pay $4 for prescriptions.
We say no way!
Protesters rallied on Parliament Hill, seeing it as an attack on universal health care. While in St. John's, they wrote letters to MPs demanding the changes be called off.
The goal is that the federal government realizes that there's widespread opposition to these cuts.
The Interim Federal Health Program, as it's known, provides temporary coverage for some newcomers.
Call your MP.
Like Christopher Kombwe, who came as a Ugandan refugee in 2019 and would be on the hook to co-pay for mental health counseling if she were only arriving now.
Let them cut somewhere else, but not health care.
The federal government stresses basic health benefits like hospital visits will remain fully covered.
The changes are set to take effect next month, and it's not the first time the program faces cuts.
In 2012, the Harper government faced protests and a court challenge after scaling back coverage. The Liberals restored the program, but the price has exploded. The parliamentary budget officer says the cost is forecasted to go from $211 million in 2020 to $1.5 billion in 2030.
The costs for this program are growing very quickly.
Still, healthcare groups including the Canadian Medical Association, Pediatric Society, and Psychological Association all insist the changes will create significant barriers to access.
People will suffer physically, mentally, and these cuts may result in people dying.
A grim warning echoing across the country. Thomas Daigle, CBC News, Toronto.
In the breakdown tonight, a CBC News investigation shops in the meat aisle and history's brutal lessons if U.S. troops are ordered to try to take an Iranian island. If U.S.-Iran talks take a turn for the worse, there is a place where Donald Trump has threatened to send troops.
Kharg Island, after it's secured, will be probably under direct attack the entire time they're there.
We look at how badly missions like that have gone. But first,
people can't afford to buy plastic.
Canada's top 2 grocers overcharging for meat again.
I'm paying for 452 grams, but I'm actually only getting 412 grams of meat.
While you're still paying for the packaging when you pick up some of the meat. Grocers said they had addressed the problem, so Sophia Harris went shopping and found at some stores it certainly didn't seem like they had.
We're on the hunt for misweighed meat.
Let's try one of these.
We want to know if you're getting all that you're paying for.
Let's turn the scale on.
Last year, a CBC News investigation found several stores owned by Sobeys and Loblaw, Canada's 2 largest grocers, were overcharging customers for underweight meat. Both said they fixed the problem. Today, we want to know if that's the case. We're checking multiple Sobeys and Loblaw affiliated chains in Vancouver, Halifax, and the Greater Toronto Area. What will we find? But first,
I need to be able to trust that the people who are dealing with the food that I'm going to eat are 100% honest.
Every year, retired school principal Karen Weber goes shopping for a big family dinner for her son's birthday. Last year, she bought 4 beef briskets from this Loblaw-owned Real Atlantic Superstore. After watching CBC's investigation, she decided to check their weight. She discovered the weight of the Superstore packaging seemed to have been included in the price. She alerted the store, telling them she wasn't complaining, just wanted to help.
Because of my name, because it's Karen, I have to be really careful.
The store manager apologized and assured her the problem would be fixed, even gave her a free brisket to thank her.
Food prices have gone astronomically high for people. We need to make sure that the stores are doing their part and only charging for what people can actually eat. They can't be making extra money off of packaging.
For this year's birthday, Karen bought 4 more briskets from the same Superstore. When she weighed them,
every single package was off. Every single package.
We do the math. Karen was overcharged by $2.58.
I would have to say I was pissed. They were obviously just paying lip service to me, and they didn't change anything. They said, oh, here you go. They make the Karen go away.
It's not the first time a Superstore has been caught out. CBC has learned, in response to our previous story, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency conducted unannounced inspections of 23 retailers at 58 locations across the country. The Real Canadian Superstore was issued a notice of violation and a warning for selling misweighed beef strip loin at a store in BC.
I'd say that the average consumer doesn't realize how much they're being misled. You're good birdies. You'll be eating your pellets.
Terry Lee worked as a CFIA inspector for 24 years until her retirement in 2021. She says she's heard all the excuses.
We switch packaging suppliers. Oh, nobody told us the package changed. We have new staff on.
Terry says until big budget cuts at the CFIA, she did unannounced spot checks on a regular basis.
I'd take a package of the first meat and put it on my scale, and if the weight that was declared on the package was the same weight as my scale, right away I would know that there was a problem.
That's because the weight of the package is supposed to be subtracted from the net weight that the customer is charged. Under federal regulations, the net weight on the label must accurately reflect the amount of food in the package. So back at our spot check, we pay a visit to this Sobeys owned Safeway. We find turkey and chicken that seem to include the weight of the packaging in the net weight on the label. Next, this Thrifty Foods, also owned by Sobeys. We find the same thing with this organic chicken. I show one of those to Terry Lee.
This is chicken thighs I bought at Thrifty Foods. The net weight is 0.452 kilograms, and the scale says 0.452 kilograms. What do you make of that?
Well, I think it could be a problem. There could be a short measure problem. I don't know how much the packaging weighs.
So next, we weigh it without the packaging.
Look, there's 2 soaker pads in here. Oh my. That is 412 grams. So I'm paying for 452 grams, but I'm actually only getting 412 grams of meat. I'm paying an awful lot for this packaging.
I worked out the overcharge. It's just over $1. What do you think of that?
Wow. If I was the consumer, I would be livid.
Weighing the turkey.
And the turkey and chicken we bought at Safeway? Same deal. We were charged up to 63 cents extra for the packaging. Continuing our shopping spot check of Loblaw and Sobeys affiliated chains, our team visits this Real Canadian Superstore, this T&T supermarket, this Sobeys, and this Longo's. All the meats we test at these locations appear to be weighed correctly. But at Farm Boy, we discover the weights of these organic chicken thighs, wings, drumsticks, and breasts are the most jarring of anything we find.
0.430.
The weight discrepancies can't be explained by the weight of the package alone. We crunch the numbers. These chicken thighs are overpriced by $1.37 per package.
Obviously, these retail stores are not to be trusted, that the weight on the package is accurate. If there's no motivation for these stores to correct their problems, then why would they? They're making money.
We invited Sobeys' parent company, Empire, to come on camera to discuss what we found at Safeway, Thrifty Foods, and Farm Boy. They didn't take us up on our offer. Neither did Loblaw, but after we informed them about Karen Weber's beef briskets, they tell us they're truly sorry this happened. And we discover the weights have finally been corrected. Still, Karen says she's going to keep weighing everything.
I have a math background, so this would be thousands and thousands of dollars that Superstore would have made off of charging people $10 plus a pound for plastic. People can't afford to buy plastic. They want to buy what's in the plastic, not the plastic.
The Canadian Food Inspection Agency encourages shoppers who find underweight meat to file a complaint. It says it will investigate such claims. Coming up, in the midst of a shaky truce and with the U.S. troops poised near Iran, is Kharg Island still a possible target for troops?
So in the chance that the Iranians set fire to those facilities, and it will be a serious setback to American strategy.
What history suggests about putting large numbers of boots on the ground. Next. Iran's Kharg Island has been touted as a possible target for a U.S. invasion. Seizing it is one thing, holding it altogether different.
Iran has the ability to bombard that island from the mainland in pretty significant quantities.
Terrence McKenna looks at the U.S. military's own history for the lessons some worried vets point to when talks turn to boots on the ground in Iran.
With the continued standoff at the Strait of Hormuz, some people are now reviving the discussion of U.S. ground troops in Iran. But a close-up look at the recent military debate about that option reveals the cautionary lessons offered by history. The number one target was to be Kharg Island at the north end of the Persian Gulf, the transshipment point for 90% of Iran's oil. The strongest call to send the Marines into action in Iran came from the president's #1 Republican cheerleader in the Senate, South Carolina's Lindsey Graham, 2 weeks ago on Fox News Sunday.
Here's what I tell President Trump. Keep it up for a few more weeks. Take Kharg Island, where all of the resources they have to produce oil. Control that island. Let this regime die on a vine.
Graham's recommendation opened a contentious debate among U.S. military veterans about the wisdom of using ground troops in Iran. U.S. Army veteran Alan Fraser is now a military affairs journalist.
As we've seen in recent decades and as far back as World War II, taking an island or sending troops ashore is usually the first step to a much larger conflict or an expansion of the conflict.
Senator Graham himself served for years as a military lawyer in the U.S. Air Force. In his Fox News appearance, he made an ill-advised comparison to a famous World War II battle over a Japanese island.
We did Iwo Jima. We can do this. The Marines, my money is always on the Marines.
Why would Graham refer to the famous World War II battle of Iwo Jima? The comparisons start with the size of Kharg Island, at 21 square kilometers, because Iwo Jima is almost exactly the same size. Iwo Jima became a target because of its proximity to the Japanese home islands and because American fighter planes could reach Japan from its airstrips. The U.S. forces approached it in February 1945 with a fearsome armada of 450 ships, with 40,000 sailors and 70,000 U.S. Marine land troops. The battle began with a staggering 3-day barrage from the U.S. Navy, after which the Marines landed on the beach almost unopposed. It was a trap. It was only after a large body of U.S. forces were on the beach and their heavy equipment bogged down in the soft sand that the Japanese forces hidden in caves on Mount Suribachi opened up their counterfire, slaughtering many. For the next 5 weeks, the Marines made a slogging advance against unyielding Japanese fighters, using handheld and tank-based flamethrowers to burn the defenders in their caves. Even after the famous flag raising atop Mount Suribachi, the battle continued for weeks. The U.S. took 26,000 casualties, of which almost 7,000 were killed or missing.
It's the only battle of the Pacific War where American casualties actually outnumber the Japanese casualties at the end of the day.
Bryn Tannehill first served as a medevac pilot and later as an Iran analyst for the U.S. Navy.
Iwo Jima was one of the bloodiest, nastiest, most brutal battles of the Pacific War. And this would be potentially worse in even some ways because Iran has the ability to bombard that island with missiles, drones from the mainland in pretty significant quantities.
So any American forces stationed on Kharg Island after it's secured will be probably under direct attack the entire time they're there.
The prospect of U.S. Marines under siege on Kharg Island brings comparisons to another famous U.S. battle. The Battle of Khe Sanh, a U.S. military outpost in South Vietnam, was a turning point in that war. The Americans deployed a vast array of aircraft, artillery, soldiers, and supplies to the base just south of the border with North Vietnam. U.S. Commander William Westmoreland placed the U.S. Marines there as bait for the gathering communist attackers. He thought that as the enemy approached the base, they would be wiped out with superior U.S. firepower, especially napalm attacks from jet fighters, bombs from B-52s, and artillery attacks from the base. It was a miscalculation. The enemy was able to attack the base at will, blowing up aircraft and pinning down the soldiers on the ground with mortar fire. The U.S. ammunition dump was blown up. After a 5-month siege and 600 U.S. casualties, including 168 dead, the U.S. abandoned the base. Westmoreland was relieved of command.
It was a brutal, miserable, bloody battle. and there was no way to hold Khe Sanh in the long run.
In the Marine Corps efforts in Vietnam showed the Marines can go anywhere. They can conduct offensive operations and set up their bases anywhere. But at the end of the day, it didn't accomplish much strategically.
A key question is what would happen if the Iranians set fire to the oil on Kharg Island, just as Saddam Hussein did in Kuwait during the first Gulf War in 1991.
The winds there are prevailing out of the west, and the oil terminals in these ships are on the western side of the island, meaning that troops trying to hold the island would have oil and petrochemical smoke blowing back over on top of them.
And the soldiers would be forced to be breathing that smoke.
That's correct.
So in the chance that the Iranians set fire to those facilities, it'll be a long time before that's brought under control, and it will be a serious setback to American strategy in the region. It will completely undo what we're hoping to accomplish by taking the island.
The flag raising at Iwo Jima is now remembered at the U.S. Marine Corps Memorial in Virginia. And many casualties from the terrible battles of Iwo Jima, Khe Sanh, and Fallujah in Iraq are buried in the nearby Arlington National Cemetery. Veterans of those battles urge caution.
I've even spoken with Vietnam veterans who fought at Khe Sanh, as well as Marines who fought in Fallujah, and I don't think I've heard from a single one of them that this war is the right thing or it's being handled properly and that the right course of action is a ground operation. I don't think I've heard that from anyone at this point.
After Donald Trump announced the ceasefire, Joint Chiefs Chairman General Dan Kane said the U.S. military would stay ready to restart the battle.
Let us be clear, a ceasefire is a pause, and the joint force remains ready if ordered or called upon to resume combat operations.
I've been around the Marine Corps my entire life, and I know plenty of them, and if they are ordered to take Kharg Island, they will do it, and they will love it, and they will be enthusiastic for it, and every Marine in the Marine Corps right now would absolutely give anything to trade places with the Marines that will go ashore. Absolutely. But at the end of the day, the veterans, especially those that fought in Vietnam or Fallujah, are looking at this and are worried for the future. They're worried what happens next.
There are over 50,000 U.S. military personnel remaining in the Persian Gulf area, waiting to see if the battle will restart after the 2-week ceasefire.
So the dangers of using ground troops, that's pretty clear in your report, but is the U.S. still threatening to do that?
You know, the White House repeatedly says that all options are still on the table. And last week, the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, bragged about the viability and the power of what he called U.S. boots on the ground. So I guess the threat is still there. The problem for Donald Trump, though, is that the American public, the polls show the American public is overwhelmingly against using ground troops, and the war is already unpopular even before he takes that step.
All right, Terrence, thank you. Terrence McKenna.
Thanks.
Coming up, a cruise planned for Bermuda ends up in New Brunswick.
We were like, is this an April Fool's joke? Because it was a few days after.
Their, let's just say, unexpected vacation twist next in our moment. This is India McHugh showing off the view from the balcony of a cruise that was meant to go to Bermuda, but ended up in a very different location, St. John, New Brunswick. So that change to the itinerary came just days before their trip, sending the family scrambling. Now, their decision to just make it work makes our moment.
Okay, we just docked in beautiful Bermuda.
We had booked a trip with our family to Bermuda. The Friday before the trip, we got an email that the trip was being rerouted due to weather. Instead of Bermuda, we'd be going to Canada, specifically St. John's, New Brunswick.
Going to the Arctic.
Definitely different vibes. We had never heard of this specific area before. We were like, is this an April Fool's joke? Because it was a few days after. We had to repack, buy coats and raincoats. There was some snow on the ground when we pulled up at the dock. The people were super, super friendly. It wasn't tourism season yet, so they were very kind and apologetic. I saw many signs that were kind of poking fun and trying to make light of the situation. We got to see the market and we did some of the Irish pub. There wasn't anything like super explorational or adventurous. The jet skis would have been nice. Everyone will have a good memory to laugh about in the future. We were still grateful for the Canadian hospitality.
Oh my, so yes, the good people of St. John, New Brunswick are fantastic. The hospitality is real. She said she'd love to go back in the summer when more things are open. And to be fair, they were offered a credit for another cruise this time of year, but it was a family trip, a big birthday, an anniversary, couldn't make it work. So New Brunswick it was. From all of us at The National, thanks for being with us. I'm Adrienne Arsenault. Take care.